Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Tell the tackle, take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, you drive down the first man who is inside. Pull back and tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle. No one shows. Go right by them and field inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. I want to welcome my buddy Jacob from the Packernet Fantasy Podcast in here tonight. We also got Tim live in Green Bay. Fellas, we had a night to kind of digest this big Packers win. I still can't get over the fact that in the last 2-3 years that I've been following the middle eight and turnover differential for live betting, right, that 2 weeks in a row, the team that won the middle eight and the turnover differential both lost. It just blows my mind. I've been charting it. 93% success rate, right? And we get back-to-back Packers games. I understand getting back-to-back, weeks where one NFL game per week that happened. It kind of, okay, I get it. It just blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. But Jacob, you had a night to kind of sleep on it. How you feeling about this win, man? Did you come down from cloud nine and say, okay, well, maybe it wasn't as good as I thought it was, or are you still like, nah, heck no, dude, this was the best win ever?
No, I mean, I obviously the excitement of it and everything like that has kind of passed. The adrenaline's kind of gone down. But I did go back and rewatch it, and I was actually more surprised. I thought I'd watch the first three quarters and think this was just absolute straight trash. It was just a lot of really blown opportunities, a lot of good defensive plays, a lot of overthrows in certain spots, but it wasn't all bad. We did have a lot of highlights still. We had guys that were getting open. Guys like Jayden Reed maybe dropping would-be highlight reel style touchdowns. So when I actually looked it over again, I was more encouraged than I thought I'd be. And obviously when you watch the fourth quarter, I mean, that's the stuff. I mean, it's very exciting to see how poised they were. And then we can get into it just seeing, we talked about the locker room speech, just the way that they all seem to be so excited for each other. Rashawn Gary seems to be getting emotional. It almost looked like Love almost got choked up for a second there. LaFleur talked about how he was trying not to get choked up. Like, it really is. We talk about how young they are and all that kind of stuff, but they're playing for each other and they're doing it in like a really unique way that we're not used to. And if you noticed, I watched a lot of press conference today, trying to just see if there was any little nuggets and stuff. And there were a few very subtle backhanded. I don't know if they were intentional or if they just came out that way, but Love specifically talked about how he's really careful for his body mannerisms and how like his facial expressions are. So no matter what happens, especially I think they asked him about that fourth down where he missed the throw or whoever was in fault there at the with Patrick Taylor. He like went on to reiterate that he's really careful about not showing any emotion on his face. And I was just thinking in my head, like, oh, I wonder why. Because, just looking at how we talked about how Rodgers saw Favre and how much of a crazy gunslinger he was. And even though sometimes that was great, there were so many games that he saw just that he threw away in that last, drive, last quarter, whatever it was. So I think Rodgers picked up that trait. I think that Jordan Love has kind of signaled that he's picked up all the traits, obviously the mechanics of Rodgers, the weird, almost identical mannerisms. But what he's maybe learned that he needs to do better, what he needs to improve from what Rodgers' game was, is the off-the-field stuff and the physical traits like we talked about. So I think it's kind of cool to see that maybe we could get a version of Favre/Rodgers with a little more new age Love, spice on it. So I'm just excited.
Yeah, definitely. And we got a full house in here. We got Zane Strong in the house. He says Gary should be the highest paid edge rusher. He's a monster, always makes plays. What's crazy is I don't think Gary's interested in being the highest paid. I think he would be cool with being top 5, but his pressure percentage right now is through the freaking roof. I mean, that dude is amazing. I've got a Chalk Talk keyed up, and man, I'll tell you, I got all 3 sacks on there, and he is just dominant, absolute dominant. Now, the other thing too is coming in with fresh legs, Tim. You know, he's coming in off the bench, kind of in that pinch hitter role, right? And coming out of the bullpen like that, dude, he looks like a monster, just an absolute monster on the field. We also got Doug in the chat, says, hi, PTA Posse. Let's get another dub on Thursday. Short turnaround, man. Let's hope everybody's healthy. And tonight we're going to hit on the PFF grades, both offense, defense, as well as special teams, and the team grades as well. Then we're going to hit on the injury news because there was kind of a mock injury report that was put out today. You know, they didn't practice to the best of my knowledge, so they created kind of, if we did practice, here's the most likely scenario of the injury report. Let's see here. Nick the Realtor says, I'm pre-locking the pod. Don't let me down. We were in the end zone corner for all the fourth quarter shenanigans. It was great. Love it. He said, wish we could send you guys a picture. My son had a great time. You could send that picture to PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. If I get it in time and I remember here, we're not too covered up, I'd be more than happy to share that on the screen there, Nick. But again, that's PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. We got Eric Sutherland in the house, president of the PTA Posse in here with us. We got Milltown Corey says Romeo Doubs out there looking like Robert Brooks, baby. And it's funny he says Robert Brooks because I'm telling you, man, if you guys will go back and actually watch the 92 Packers, all you got to do is go to YouTube and type in 1992 Green Bay Packers, and you'll see some full games pop up. I don't think they won a single game clean. It was just like yesterday, right? And you got all of these players that are coming up together. I think Robert Brooks was either a rookie in 92 or I'm trying to remember. I can't remember exactly when he was drafted. I know he was really young. If he wasn't on the roster in 92, it might have come a little bit later. But those players, man, they were so young coming up together, the same type of atmosphere that the Packers have today. But what do you think, Tim? I'd be okay with Romeo Doubs out there looking like a Robert Brooks, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And at this point, we have to just call it like we see it. He's wide receiver 1. You know, like no disrespect to Christian Watson. You know, I'm a huge fan of Scoot, but it's just as simple as he hasn't been ready to go. And thank God it looks like that's going to change this week, and we're gonna get as close to full strength as a team as we've been all year, hopefully, for this divisional game. But Romeo Doubs, man, I'm running out of creative ways to praise this guy because every time I think I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that shows you right there. He's the truth. It's like he does something else that just it blows my mind, you know. And to think that he's a second-year player, you know, we talk about Jaden Reed not looking like a rookie. Well, Romeo doesn't look like he's in year 2. Romeo looks like a veteran receiver for all intents and purposes, and just another thing to add to the long list of things to be excited about with this Packers team.
Yep, definitely. Completely agree. Eric Sutherland, I love this team. Watching these young men grow is going to be fun. And the number one Packer fan said, as I said on Saturday, who dat, who day, who cares? Go Pack, go.
Yeah.
We got Cheesehead Murph in the house, vice president of the PTA Posse. He's in here with us. Which, by the way, PTA Posse is absolutely blown up. It's so cool, man. Getting messages from people on YouTube. Hey, just signed up. We appreciate the support so much. It's what allows us to, you know, get better equipment, keep this thing rolling in the right direction, which it's been a wild 24 hours, man. We've gotten a lot of notoriety, I guess is the right word, a little bit of attention, I should say. You know, we had our tweet shared in PFF's game recap. They chose 2 tweets to share. You know, one offensively, one defensively. The offensive one was from the Packers themselves, and the defensive one, they grabbed our tweet from Twitter with Rashawn Gary's 3 sacks, which was kind of cool. And then about halfway through the day today, my notifications blew up on Twitter. I'm like, what is going on? And Kay Adams from Up and Adams actually quote tweeted us as well. So we're starting to get out there a little bit, gang, and it's kind of cool, man, because you know, it's funny. It's just like Peter Schrager said. And if you got kids in the room, earmuff them real quick because I am going to say a dirty word. All right. Oh. But Peter Schrager said, you know, when he was asked by Sean McVay, how does someone succeed in your business? You know, in the quote unquote media or just covering sports, he said, work hard and don't be an asshole. That's what he said. And that's what we're trying to do. Now, listen, Twitter's tough. Twitter's hard to follow that second rule. I'm just being honest with you. But it's pretty cool, man. It's I like the direction we're going, and really that direction, it has everything to do with the Packernet podcast listeners, and obviously the PTA posse here on YouTube. You guys are kind of the engine behind this whole thing. We appreciate you, man, for sure. Nick the Realtor, it's potentially possible that Jordan has characteristics from Brett. I was thinking about that, Jacob, myself. You kind of look at how Brett played and you look at how Aaron played. Now, Jordan has protected the ball really, really well, and that should have been a penalty on that interception. I went back and watched it. Should have been illegal contact, and not just a little, he touched it. No, they literally knocked him off his route 15 yards into the route. But without that interception, we'd be sitting here going, okay, 7 touchdowns, no picks, right? Fourth quarter comeback win, down by 17. That feels like Brett, right? But at the same time, he's protecting the football like Aaron. Now, don't get me wrong, the completion percentage is a problem, okay? That's something we've got to get that cleaned up. And not for the statistics' sake, but just the fact that, that number is so low. That's alarmingly low. Now, with that being said, too, Jacob, I think I heard right, our receivers have the 10th most drops in the league as far as across the league. That's an upgrade from last year. Last year, we were number 1 in drops. So pretty cool to see them grow, right, Jacob?
I mean, yeah, if you want to look at it that way. I mean, there's another way you could look at it, too. Just the absolute age of all the receivers, everybody in almost the skill position that's been thrown into there, even guys like Emmanuel Wilson. We never thought that he'd be taking first round or, first string snaps and that kind of stuff. And Musgrave, obviously, he's struggled with a little bit of drops. We've seen that with Jaden Reed. When you look back, I forgot some of the crazy catches, though, that he did make. That one diving one, I mean, I that was unreal, man. That everything that he dropped before that, I honestly forgive him for just for that one catch, because it was outstretched hands. I mean, just like textbook, secured it. Even if they were to review it, I thought that was going to stand. So I'm excited about that. Even guys like Tay Wicks, but I just think we have to, like we talked about in the beginning of this year, I really don't think anybody realistically thought we'd be like 2-1, talking about how we could have been 3-0. And that if our biggest issue is that we got drops, I mean, we kind of thought that was probably going to be it. We thought it was going to be inaccuracy issues with Love and drops. We thought that I personally thought there's going to be more of him being under pressure, running for his life. And in some aspects, he has been running. But, dude, that's the one thing, too, that I gathered when I watched the first half, and then especially in that fourth quarter. He's still very poised, and he only runs when he has to. And the way he runs is so technically smart. And that one play where he threw ended up being an incomplete. It was like a deep out to, I want to say it was to Samori Toure, and it was on like a 3rd and 6, or something like that. But the way that he shuffled and did like a drop textbook step, 3 of them, and then perfectly reset, threw an absolute perfect dime to Toure, who just happened to have a guy swipe it right out of his hands, / he kind of dropped it. And again, a lot of these drops, in my opinion, were just really good defensive balls that were played like at the last split second. But I'm still, like I said, impressed going back and watching it. There's a lot of things to clean up for sure. But what's even more impressive, in my opinion, is the way that these dudes, when they did their interviews, they're so humble. They're so gracious. They're so careful not to throw anybody under the bus. That's always we, us. And then when they're praising them, it's like, oh, it's, team effort, blah, blah, blah. It's really cool, though.
Yeah, it is. It's a different feel for sure. Josh Martin, thank you so much for the super chat. He said, it's nice to have a quarterback who could scramble again when a play breaks down to keep the drive alive. I'm telling you, it's been missing for about 3 years now, at least. And, man, Josh, that there was a couple times there yesterday where Love, it wasn't just that Love was like, okay, let me get out of here and get a first down. You could tell it was, let's manipulate the pocket a little bit, right? It's like he noticed Read 1 isn't there, Read 2 isn't there. All right, glance around, let me create enough separation. All right, now let's go to the second windows of each route. It was amazing. And, the beautiful thing about that is when they start to play man coverage against Jordan Love, which they did yesterday, and that's why you started seeing the shots. They kept playing single high man, and he's like, all right, I'm going to throw it to Dobbs until one of these gets freaking caught. He just kept throwing it to – and the pass interference as well, right? The multiple pass interference. That's, man coverage, their back was turned to the ball, chuck it up there and let them make the mistake. So when we see more man coverage, you're going to have even more opportunities for him to scramble. But I completely agree, Josh. That's something that's been missing from the Green Bay Packers for a few years. I'm not saying that overrides, MVP caliber ability to, read the defense and pinpoint accuracy and all that. But it's definitely something that's important. But thank you so much for the super chat there, Josh. We really, really appreciate it, man. Let's see here. We got us another one. Then we'll get right into the PFF grades. I think it was right here. Yeah. Milltown Corey said, I hope Gary doesn't do an A-Rod and take all the money out there. Players need to understand the team needs money to get other great players. Yeah, you're kind of seeing that across the league. Have you noticed what Kansas City's doing, Tim? I'll ask you about this, or at least get your take on it. Patrick Mahomes took a team-friendly deal, 10 years, where they could move that money around like crazy. You had Travis Kelce took a team-friendly deal. They win a couple Super Bowls, right? And then, of course, their defensive lineman, is it Chris Jones? Am I thinking right? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
He decides, no, I want to break the bank. He holds out. He didn't break the bank. But now you've seen Mahomes actually redone his contract and did it a little less team-friendly. And he said he feels obligated to the other players coming up behind him, just like what Aaron said, to kind of reset that market. So you're seeing that kind of diminish a little bit, right? Now, Aaron obviously taking way less money for the Jets. Of course, it doesn't matter when you're in the tub, but it's one of those things. I want to see Gary get paid, but you've also got to take into consideration too, Corey, the money can be maneuvered. Like it's I'm not saying, we can afford for him to be the highest paid edge rusher fully guaranteed, right? I'm not saying that at all. But the way this cap can be manipulated right now, until the cash over cap loopholes are closed, I wouldn't worry too much about that. There's not going to be a year where Goody's going, God, I wish I had more money. They've got the roster they want. They're building the roster they want. And I don't know how you feel about that, Tim, but I never look up and go, like, who's the player they wish they had right now that's available, right? Who comes to mind? I can't think of anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, the one that I feel like got away was Tyreek Hill, right? Anytime you've got the ability to get the best wide receiver in the entire league, you probably want to bend a little bit and make that happen. But hindsight's 2020, especially with his personal issues off the field and all that good stuff. But what do you think, Tim, before we get to the PFF grades there? Gary, I don't think he's going to try to break the bank. Do you?
No, I don't. And I think, we always talk about this. At this level, it's a business. We all understand that. And I think with many players, they do. They want to be paid, and they want to be paid handsomely. You think about the grind and the work that it takes to play at this level consistently. And then if you're in the upper echelon in your position group, Rashawn Gary deserves to get paid like a lot of the best edge rushers in the NFL get paid. That's true. Now, on the flip side, there are players out there, and I believe Rashawn is one of those, that hold championships and winning and success in a pretty high regard. And as long as you don't disrespect a guy like that with a subpar offer, I think a guy like that takes a team-friendly deal. And to your point about Mahomes, knowing that if need be, I can restructure. And if I want to play hardball down the road, I can. But, Rashawn is in this position right now where, he's very aware of what's going on around him. And he knows that he is coming off an injury in the prime of his career with a young team out here that has a lot of talent, and there's a lot to build on. Despite the success we've had early, we always talk about it. There's a lot to work on still, and there's a really high ceiling. So I don't think Rashawn, of all players, is going to let money screw with what we have going on here in Green Bay. That's just my personal take on the matter. I think he deserves to be paid. I think the extension should come tomorrow. I think we can go ahead and extend Jordan Love as well. I don't know about you guys, but I've seen enough. I believe that he should get the bag. And to your point, Clayton, let's do it earlier rather than later. But there's a lot of guys on this team that I think fall into that category where they carry the G, as we say. And I think winning and success on the field is paramount. And if taking a team-friendly deal, which means a few million less now or maybe a few more million up front as opposed to down the road, I think these guys are going to do it, man. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you so much for the super chat. Mace Taggart said, "Hey fellas, love equals dynasty in Lambeau. Book it." Absolutely love it. Completely agree. Now, you guys notice he's got a YouTube channel there, the Mace Taggart Experience. Let's all be a blessing. When this is over, you can do it right now. Hop over there, subscribe to his channel, and let's support people that support us for sure. I just subbed your channel just now, Mace. Appreciate you supporting us, man. Or it could be a female. I don't know. I apologize if it is. I get so nervous on this stuff, man, with the names, and I'm probably screwing the name. It might even be Macy. I don't know. But all right, let's do this. Let's go to the grades real quick. All right, let's go to the team grades. First of all, you can see through the first 3 weeks against the Chicago Bears, the overall team grade for the Packers was a 75.7. Against the Falcons, it was a 65.9. Against the Saints, it was a 67.9. Let's go through the position groups here, okay, or the different sides of the ball. New Orleans Saints game yesterday. Overall, like I said, 67.9. Offensively, 63.1. Passing, 61.8. Pass blocking, 73.0. Receiving, 64.3. Running grade, 66.4. Run blocking, 47.4. Defensive grade, 74.2. Run defense, 69.7. Nice little bounce back game there for the run defense. Tackling, 75.1. That's probably the reason the run defense had improved so much. Pass rush grade, 59.3. Think of the sacks we got. Kenny got a sack. Rashawn Gary got 3 sacks, and our pass rush grade was only a 59.3. Coverage grade, 77.2. And then special teams grade dipped really, really low to 43.3. Anything stand out to you there, Jacob, before we move on to the individual grade?
I mean, just that our pass blocking grades still seem to hold steady, even without obviously our 2, I would say, best players there. And then the coverage grade showing that we had a really good improvement. We can talk about the individual players, which I'm guessing as to why that's a little higher than it has been. So,
got it. All right. Offensively, and I apologize, I'm chewing in the mic here, but I just put a now and later in, man. You like now and laters, Tim? You like now and laters, man?
I do, but my dentist hates me for it.
Hey, tell that dentist to mind his business. You know what I'm saying? Stay about my business, my business. All right. Offensive grades. Number 1, Keyshawn Nixon.
there we go.
He had 1 snap, 78.8. So let's just go ahead and wipe that away, all right? Romeo Dobbs, Mr. Robert Brooks 2.0, 68 total snaps. His offensive grade was a 73.8. Rasheed Walker, 73.2. Zach Tom, 68.7. Dontavian Wicks, 65.3. Jordan Love, 63.9. A.J. Dillon, 62.3. Patrick Taylor, 61.2. Ben Sims, 60.1, but only 3 snaps. Let's hop down to Josh Myers, 58.3. Luke Musgrave, 57.9. Jaden Reed, 57.9. Samori Toure, 53.9. And let's just a couple bad honorable or D honorable mentions, I guess you could say. Royce Newman, 50.1. And John Runyon, a 48.3. Jacob, what sticks out to you about these offensive grades, man?
I mean, the first thing, did you pull that up? Am I crazy? Does A.J. Dillon have a 5.2 pass block grade?
You gonna try to take that away from him, bro?
I'm just saying, how do you get a 5.2?
He lined up in the right spot, so they gave him a 5.2.
All right. That's
wild, isn't it?
I guess I'm looking, though, at John Runyon. That just seems like a weird – he's still got a 71 pass blocking grade, but that run blocking grade is – I hate seeing John Runyon Jr. down there. Royce Newman doesn't surprise me as much. I'd really like to have seen – I have not seen Malik Heath step up like I thought he was going to. Samori Toure, as I talked about earlier, had that drop, and then Reed right above him had a couple big drops. Same with Musgrave. So those grades all right there don't surprise me. There is that Yash Nijman. I saw that he was in there for 2 snaps, had a 60 grade. That's better than the other guys we talked about. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are. We said we might bring it up. I kind of thought, why not bring it up? What are your thoughts about if we don't have Bakhtiari going into Thursday, but if Tom can play, or reshuffling that line? Do you see bringing in Yash Nijman for any reason? And why is maybe Royce still on that line? Is there any way you see us reshuffling to get him off and getting a different 5?
it all comes down to who's going to be available, right? So let's assume that Bach is available. All right. If Bach's available, I'm going left tackle David Bakhtiari, left guard Rasheed Walker, center Josh Myers, right guard John Runyon, right tackle Zach Tom if he's healthy, right? Now let's say that Bach is a scratch. If Bach is a scratch, I'm going Rasheed Walker, Royce Newman, Josh Myers, John Runyon, and then at right tackle Zach Tom. Let's say Zach Tom isn't healthy. Okay, let's say he can't go and Bach can't go. Whew, I don't want to think about it, but let's pretend here. It's going to be Rasheed Walker at left tackle, Royce Newman at left guard, Josh Myers at center, John Runyon at right guard, and then at right tackle, it's got to be Yash. Yash should be the one that's got the most experience there, right? So, with that being said, though, it's pretty evident, Tim, that Yash is taking a step back. I mean, the fact that the coaches really limited his playing time, and Rasheed Walker is kind of propelled to the front there, the front of the line as far as the number 2 left tackle. But again, only 2 snaps. It's hard to judge it there at 60.0 grade. But how do you see the offensive line? That's a great question, Jake. Tim, what do you think?
I'm kind of with you on this, Clayton. I think it really stems from Zach Tom, if he's healthy, needs to play right tackle, and that's I don't feel comfortable moving him unless our backs are absolutely up against the wall and we have to. But I do think that it is true. Yash probably has been a little underwhelming this year. But then again, so is JRJ and Royce and Josh Myers as well. So when it comes to the line, I think anything that we see with consistency, we should stick to. So we see consistently good play from Rasheed Walker at left tackle when Bach's not in. He needs to be on the field at left tackle. Same thing with Zach Tom. Zach Tom is lights out at right tackle. I don't want to. If I'm going to jumble anything around, it's going to be my center and my guards. I'm going to keep my tackles where they're at, just based on what we've seen right now. That's just kind of my take on it.
Got it.
Go
ahead, Jake.
Just some quick individual stats, because I thought it was kind of indicative as to what we're all feeling. So Myers, right now, as of before this game started or whatever, these games, he was the 30th ranked center overall. Tom was ranked 14th as in the overall tackles, but Walker, which I was surprised, was ranked 24th. And then that is with a snap count. So if you take away any snap count, minimum or anything like that, Bakhtiari is number 1 in pass blocking. And I think that if you, again, look at that overall top, it's in the top 21. The Packers have 4 different players if you take away the snap count modifier on there. So, it's encouraging to say the least, but it is a little bit scary that we have guys like Runyon seeming to really fall even farther and farther into that run game. Just our run game. I don't know what to think about it. Like seeing some of these grades, I don't know how you blame the running backs. It's pathetic.
I know exactly how I see it. I could see it on tape. And then I go into the sit down there with Mike Wall and former offensive lineman in the NFL. I'm going in like a blank slate, right? I've got a blank sheet of paper. I'm ready to take notes. And he basically confirmed everything I was seeing. Like they're asking them to do too much. They have no identity in the running game. They don't know what they want to do. They're trying to throw a multitude of different concepts / run blocking schemes. And they're just asking these offensive linemen to do things they can't. Over and over and over. We've seen that pistol toss play yesterday. Now, what's crazy is Mike pointed this out too when I was talking to him. I can't remember if it was offline or online, but he said, what I'm noticing, Clayton, is they're running plays just to set up a pass off of it, right? And if that's the case, just run the pass. Just pass, run that passing play, because you're literally putting yourself in a negative situation is essentially what he was saying. And that toss play, I seen it twice, and both times I'm like, why are we doing this? And then it was like, the very next play, they were setting up a pass off of it, and I believe it was even an incomplete pass, but it was just like you wasted 2 plays to set up that play, and then it even failed. It's like that's a whole wasted drive. And there's so many times, too, that you look up, and this is what Garrett Stritzel's saying here. He says, for the Lions, the game versus the Lions, I hope they, quote, keep it simple, stupid when it comes to the O-line plays. Let's get good. Like Mike said, let's just get good at running between the tackles. Let's get good at duo, right? Double. Let's just get good at that. Then inside zone. If you want to stretch it out every now and then, okay, that's fine. But these cute little toss plays and speed options and pitches and my God, Emmanuel Wilson throwback to the – come on, please, for goodness sakes. So I don't think A.J. Dillon has done anything to help his stock. But when I watch the tape, I do also see situations where it drives me crazy. People online, and I'm as guilty as anyone, right? You go back and watch the tape, you go, there's a hole right here. That's not where the hole was designed, right? Yeah. Well, it's the running back's job to find the hole. No, like if it's supposed to be a B gap, right? A B gap run, or, you know, that mid zone read to the right, he's not going to look A gap left. It shouldn't be an option, right? And the fact that it's open was probably because the defense played to the zone side that they were trying to run too. So there's just a lot of different factors that come in. I don't find myself going, A.J. Dillon's horrible now. I don't even find myself going, this offensive line is horrible at run blocking. The grades are bad because they're being asked to do things that's darn near physically impossible to do. So when PFF grades it, they've got to grade the tape. That's when they're grading the tape. They're grading the tape with the understanding of, okay, I think this is what the play call was. How well did they execute it? Well, they executed it poorly. They can't take into consideration on their grade, is it possible to do that? Now you're getting into being a little more opinionated. You know what I'm saying, Tim? It's like you're removing the framework of the grading system itself when you start interjecting your opinion on whether the play should have been called or not.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, when Mike Wall talks about simplifying things, I truly believe this is so apparent when it comes to our offensive line, but I think it comes down to the offense in general. I mean, not even just our linemen, just what, you know, what we're expecting of guys that have played, you know, a lot of them 2 or 3 games of NFL football here at the real deal level. And, you know, there's also the school of thought that, you know, the only way to learn is by doing. And, you know, you talk about some of these plays where, you know, you see LaFleur call it in and it's like, he doesn't really think it's going to work. You can kind of see the body language on the field. The line doesn't look thrilled. Our backs don't look thrilled. And lo and behold, these tosses, they don't work. But I think in LaFleur's mind, it's, oh, well, that's because I'm setting up a pass here in the future. But, well, okay, that seems a little bit a bit conventional of wisdom for Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur's new school. Matt LaFleur is, you know, of the tree that we know he's from, pushing the envelope. So I wonder if we revert and we pass to set up the run at some point where we do short passes, we do quick hitters, get the ball out fast and in a hurry, a lot of short gains, chunk gains, medium gains. And then the minute that secondary starts backpedaling, we run the ball. Now we run our outside zone. Now we run in between the tackles and find success that way. But I think to your point, it's so true. You've got to get these young players, all of them, doing things consistently at a very basic level before you can really step. Like let's run a successful toss play to Emmanuel Wilson before we toss him the ball and then ask him to pass it across the field to our quarterback. And then, oh, by the way, make a block and, you know, whatever else we need to do. I think it's just, you know, the illusion of complexity is what we're after, but what we're getting is complexity. And, you know, these guys are pros. They should be able to handle it. I understand where our staff is coming from, you know, right? You guys are in the NFL. This isn't child's play. We're asking you to do these things. You should be able to do it. If you're not successful, here's the tape, here's practice. Let's correct it. Let's improve every week. Okay. Well, you got to give your guys a chance to do that, you know? And I think you build confidence by, you know, mastering those basics. Yeah, if we can find success, you know, in between the tackles, we should build on that before we start getting too fancy. You know. Yeah,
and Mike Wall, you hit the nail on the head. Mike Wall said, now don't get me wrong, Clayton, a good offensive line should be able to do everything. Okay, like he pointed that out, but you know, like he pointed out, Josh Myers is an average center. Like that's what we've seen so far, an average center. He really likes Runyon. Absolutely loves Zach Tom. Really, really impressed with Rasheed Walker's footwork. And he knows exactly how good David Bakhtiari is. And his opinion on David Bakhtiari's injury is real simple. Do whatever you got to do to get whatever you can out of him. He's that valuable. He's that good of a left tackle. If it means 5 games, if it means 3 games this season, whatever it is, you're still going to be paying him whether he's hurt or not. You know what I'm saying? So why not cater to, okay, if it blimps up, if the knee swells up, let's let him sit. All right, let's get a game out of him here. Let's get a game out of him there. And worry about next year, because I think it's pretty safe to say there's a good possibility he won't be on this team, which sucks because I think David Bakhtiari might be a borderline Hall of Famer. I really believe that. Number one Packer fan says, if run blocking was Browns level good and you out AJ behind that line, do you see a different guy? I think you probably do, man. I think you probably do. I mean, the blocking does matter. There's no doubt about that. All right, let's move on to the defensive grades here. That's a great conversation. Appreciate everybody in the chat there. Number one, Jake, if you want to read number one to me there, who is that right there?
Rudy Ford.
That's my guy. That is my guy. Rudy Ford, 88.2 elite defensive grade. He had a 72.7 run defense grade, 84.8 tackle grade, and an 81.4 coverage grade. So he had the highest coverage grade. He had the highest tackle grade. He had maybe the third highest run defense grade, and obviously overall defensive grade at the top. Number 2 was Devondre Campbell at 79.3. Of course, he only had 11 snaps before he hurt his ankle. We'll talk about the injury report here in a second. Rashawn Gary, 77.8. Run defense grade for Rashawn was a 60.0. Tackle grade, 73.3. And pass rush, 73.9. I agree with that grade. When I went back and watched the tape and seen the 3 sacks, don't get me wrong, he manhandled the guy, but it wasn't like, wow, the tackle did everything he could there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying he was laying down for Gary by no stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't like he was going up against a top tier tackle either. We talked about how bad these tackles were going into this game. Rasul Douglas, 75.7. I have been so freaking impressed by Rasul Douglas. That dude seems to be the backbone of this defense outside of Rashawn Gary. Of course, Rashawn Gary only having a limited 23 snaps. It just seems like Rasul is carrying the attitude. He takes it personal, all that. This was a pleasant surprise. Number 5 on the list, Keyshawn Nixon, okay, 74.2 grade. Carl Brooks, rookie, 28 snaps, 71.1. TJ Slayton, Gravedigger 2.0. Nose tackle, 26 snaps, 70.8 grade. Devontae Wyatt, 68.0. Lucas Van Ness, 66.90. Lucas Van Ness, you're starting to get a floor there, guys. I don't think he's graded outside of the 60s the whole season, right? And that's typically a good grade for a rookie moving forward. Preston Smith, 66.4. Kingsley Enagbare, 64.8. Let's slide down to the bottom there. Savage's grade kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I thought he'd have a little bit better grade, but I think it's fair at a 63.2. If we slide down, though, this is the one that hurts, though. Quay Walker, 43.6. I didn't key in on him much, but there definitely weren't a whole lot of highlights of Quay. It was very, very few times when I went back and watched the tape. I've made 3 passes through. Did I look up and go, man, Quay really flashed there. It seemed like he had an off day. But when the ball was around him, a 79.6 tackle grade, that's what you need an inside linebacker. Carrington Valentine was a 52.7. So those are 2 people that kind of struggled there. Jacob, initial impressions of the defense, man. Outside of Rudy Ford, what sticks out to you, bud?
I mean, obviously, I think to me it's the Douglas and Nixon combo, because we talked about guys that would need to step up because of the fact that obviously we don't have Jair. And even though I was looking forward to really seeing some steps from Carrington Valentine, but he ended up getting injured, I believe it was, and he ended up with like 18 snaps 32 snaps. So he had a decent amount to show out there. So I'm a little surprised at that score right there. It looks like he had a really bad run defensive grade. So I don't really, I'm not going to hold him to that very much. Colby Wooden, I've been surprised at his grades lately, just because I see him around the ball. It seems like a lot, but he just doesn't seem to be grading out correctly or positively. I will say I'm pleasantly surprised, like you said, about LVN and Preston Smith, so much so that I looked them up real quick. And so Gary is the 8th best pass rushing grade right now in football of 82 with an 82.9. He's the 20th overall edge. And Preston has the defensive overall PFF grade of a 72.7, which is 37th. And then LVN is 48th overall. So if you look at it in that aspect, you kind of have 3 starters-ish, that are up-and-coming guys, or guys that are our staples there. And then Rasul Douglas, he's a top 10 quarter as of right now. Like I said before these games started, a top 10 corner in the league right now with a PFF overall defensive grade of 78.9. So that right there, like you talked about, we talked about Rasul Douglas and the way that he kind of has been a motivator and a leader, and how he likes to get guys riled up by talking a lot of smack. And it's really, really cool to see that he's in, and especially in Jair's absence and in Stokes, as we forget about Stokes, and that he's just been kind of becoming that steady Eddie guy that seems to be a motivator. And I don't know if you watch him in interviews, but he's hilarious. He's kind of aggressive, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah. I love how anytime he gives up, I say I love it, but when he gets a penalty for it, I'm going to be mad. But I love how anytime he gives up a play, he makes it a point to grab the ball and rip it out of the guy's hands as he's getting off the ground. It's hilarious. Tim, what do you think about the defensive grades, bud? I'll put them up here again for you.
I think the thing that stands out to me is middle linebacker. Like you said, not the best day from Quay. However, a tackling machine, as we see by the tackle grades. Look at our middle linebackers: Hollins, McDuffie, and Quay, all with really solid tackling grades when it comes to these numbers. So, like you said, Clayton, that's what we need our linebackers to do: be tackling machines. So I'll take an off day in some of these other categories, as long as you're not missing tackles. And I'm with you. I didn't see anything that jumped off the tape to me with Quay, other than he did get blocked really nasty out of one of those plays pretty early in the game. It did look like he was a little off, I guess would be the best way to surmise it. But that kind of stood out to me, is despite our linebackers not doing super hot, the tackling grades looked good to me.
Yeah, definitely. And, the big thing that stood out to me here, Keyshawn Nixon had a great bounce back game at an 80.5 coverage. I mean, and what did we talk about going in this game, guys? Their wide receivers were stout, right?
Yeah.
So that was really impressive to me. What were you going to say, Jake?
If you bring that back up, we forgot about the most important stat by far. I can't believe we didn't bring this up. If you scroll down to number 15, you'll see Brenton Cox Jr. had his first actual snap as a Green Bay Packer at Lambeau. So congratulations, Brenton Cox. He looks like he did nothing. So literally nothing. He got just a grade for standing there. But hey, props, man.
Hey, we made it, Mama. We made it.
Shout out to your boy Carl Brooks. Batted ball at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
That's your guy. You called it. His tackling grade is something to be desired, but other than that, looked pretty good.
I was going to say he tackled like my Aunt Linda, but other than that, we had a pretty good game. So that's Bill's wife, by the way. That woman deserves a freaking Medal of Honor or something for putting up with Bill all these years. I promise you that. Let's go
just real quick. I think TJ Slayton has quietly had a really decent year so far. Just not anything flashy or special, but seems like he's been out there for 25, 30 plays, and we've had a lot more like run stuffing, like 3rd and shorts, 4th and shorts that I can remember in a long time. Yep. To me, it always feels like that was such a gimme. We've had a few where at least we're putting our nose in there and getting in there.
Yeah, definitely. Mike Hebring, thank you so much for the super chat. He said it's time for Sean Ryan, ... maybe. It can't get much worse, right? Like, why not see like Rasheed Walker, would we even know what Rasheed Walker, the step he took forward if Bach had been healthy? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? Like, why not give Sean Ryan a run there? Now you get, halfway through the first quarter and he's causing false starts and holding or whatever, you can pull him, and you know what I mean? But competition's good. And I've always looked at it this way, that if someone can't mentally handle an open competition in a position battle, they're probably not going to be able to perform when the game's on the line. You know what I mean? So if the thought is, well, we don't want to wreck Royce Newman's mindset that he might be 3rd on the depth chart. I'm about to say a bad word. That okay? Forget that. Like we're all big boys here, right? Like, if I don't run my business as well, if I don't do my job well, guess what? Someone else gets that business. That's the real world, right? And it should be about putting the best product out there week in and week out. And I'm not suggesting they're doing that on purpose. I'm just, I hate that when, well, he's the starting quarterback. Listen, I love Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is I think he is played above my expectations, hands down. Touchdown interception ratio I thought was the most important thing. Obviously, he rallied the troops, led the team on that fourth quarter comeback. But if someone told me that Clifford was a better quarterback, hands down, I can prove to you Clifford's a better quarterback, I'd be like, start Clifford. I don't care where you're drafted. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Now, he doesn't have the arm of Jordan Love. Obviously, it's not even close. I'm just using that as an example that you should put the best 11 out there, man. That's the way it should be. But, Mike, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. I wouldn't mind seeing Sean Ryan. We got Jake Shavink in the house. He said, did it feel like Quay had as bad a game as PFF said? Felt like he was keeping things together early. Like I said, Jake, when I watched the tape, I haven't keyed in on Quay. I was keying on some other things. I definitely didn't find myself going, oh, look at Quay there. You know what I mean? I don't think he was a difference maker. But, again, I would probably need to go back and really key in on him and look at the all-22 and kind of watch his assignment. There's got to be a reason that he graded out low. I just don't think that it was the reason. I don't think it caused us any major problems, I should say. But what are you going to say, Jake?
I can't remember whose video I was watching, but it was somebody, maybe Boz or one of those guys, or just maybe it bled into a random thing. But they were talking about how a lot of times when fans see, especially on defense, when they see a grade that's a lot lower, even though they felt like the player had a decent game, they said that PFF really does tick. They give you, I think it's like a 0.5 or a full point kind of tick off of however they score. So like if you have a missed tackle, those really add up. Like even one or two of them can make otherwise seemingly looking like really perfect game. They can take you down really quickly into like the 70s and 60s. And if you notice, like it may be worth looking. I don't know if you got the missed tackles, if you can see that there, but he said that there's a common denominator there, that if you have a couple of missed tackles, that it can really bring your overall grade down quite a lot. And depending on what they can determine like your assignment was, if it was you're supposed to follow this guy or that guy and you completely biffed on it, or if you completely missed a tackle that would have, otherwise stopped a certain larger gain. I don't know if they have like weighted scales, but there is, I thought, a lot more stuff weighted towards missed tackles and missed blown assignments. And for on offense specifically, they talked about like overthrown balls, especially balls where it was like, if the guy caught it in stride, that could have been a massive play, which would probably indicate why Jordan Love has had some really rough grades, because he does that bet where he'll randomly just throw rocket balls over the guy's head, and you're like, what? Why didn't you just take a second?
PFF definitely leans towards consistency, right? The extremely high grades, they played well, play in and play out. It just takes one or two plays to really drop that grade significantly. But when you look at Quay Walker, that overall 43.6 defensive grade, run defense 50.8, tackling grade was great, 79.6, pass rush 50.3, coverage 48.3. Now, when you look at the snap counts, right? Pass rush, he had 8 pass rushes graded out of the 50.3. That's going to drop that overall grade down significantly, right? Coverage, he had 30 coverage snaps. So I guarantee you, if you go watch him in coverage, that's probably where you're going to see the flaws. Now, again, I didn't see it with my passes through, but I wasn't really keying in on Quay Walker. I'll be completely transparent. I was looking at the receivers. I wanted to see what Olave did. I wanted to see how they played. Even when when Jameis Winston went in, I always want to call him Jameson. God, I can't get it right. But even when he went in, I found myself like, okay, let's see how the receivers are matching up, when it comes to that. So
I have a hypothesis on Quay here, and this is just a theory. So he's got the green dot on. We talked about this. Mm-hmm. He's clearly in that role. You're on the field at home early, home opener. You're not really hyper concerned about Devondre Campbell being in the right spot, because you can trust a guy like Devondre Campbell to be where he needs to be. And so I think, you have a little bit of a security blanket there when you're on the field with a veteran guy like that. And then 11 snaps later, he's gone. And now we have Zay coming in, we've got Hollins coming in. I wonder if Quay's performance, quote unquote, suffered a little bit just because, it might make sense with the correlation with the coverage grade. It's like if you're constantly pointing and making sure guys are in their spot, I could see how a younger player might neglect his own assignment because he's hyper concerned with, where everybody's supposed to be. I wonder what your thoughts are on that. Do you think that might have any weight?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And I would love to sit here and say, Tim, I thought about that too, but I didn't. So I think it could play into it. And let's say McDuffie comes in, right? In the back of Quay's mind, in terms of all the play calls, all the checks and everything at the line, everything, all the responsibility you have there, also knowing, Isaiah can't cover like Devondre. I need to maybe play this a little safer here. You know what I mean? That could have come into play as well. Like I said, I have to go back and look at the tape and really identify, okay, are they in zone match, man match? Are they playing spot drop? Kind of what's going on there. I do know they blitzed him. Like I said, I remember seeing Quay blitz several times. They showed this really odd front, which was awesome, where it was a nickel 2-4-5, and they lined the two down linemen up on the left side of the line. So basically you got Rashawn Gary isolated on the right tackle. You got Kenny Clark isolated on the right guard. And then you got, Devontae Wyatt or whoever else it was, Carl Brooks, isolated on the center. So you essentially had one offensive lineman that wasn't blocking anyone because they would put Preston Smith on the other side. In one particular play, they ran that look, and they actually blitzed Quay and dropped Preston Smith, and it was like a fire zone blitz type thing. They only brung 5, which is technically a blitz, but it was, to me, it looked like it was a hybrid version of quarter, half, or half quarter, or cover 6, and they did a little fire zone on top of it. So I was grinning like a possum in a dumpster watching that defense work after the second or third playback, because it was like, man, Barry got really creative. It was a lot of fun. Now, I know no one's going to give him credit for that, and that's okay. But yeah, that's definitely something that stood out to me. All right, let's do this. Let's go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, we have seen exactly what he said that we would see in camp when I jogged with him over to the Hudson Center before practice, and he told me that we're going to see more aggressiveness, we're going to see more pressure, and we're going to see different looks. And you can say what you want about Joe Barry's defense. That's exactly what we've seen through 3 games this year.
Definitely. Jacob, can you read these scores here on the screen?
Yep. We're looking at the Green Bay.
I've got a German Shepherd pup at the door. Let me go handle this. You take care of this for me.
I can hear him knocking. Special teams grades for the Green Bay Packers. Josiah DeGuara is number 1 with a 72.1, which is at least encouraging to see him doing something. Darnell Savage had another great day on the special teams side of the ball. He had 68.5, ranking number 2. Of course, no surprise to see that Eric Wilson, Steady Eddie, is at 64.9. Then we dip off a little bit. It goes to Justin Hollins at 63.7. Matt Orzich at 63.6. Then Kenny Clark, 60.7. And then Malik Heath, TJ Slayton, Josh Myers. And then it basically is all just very normal.
Dallin Levitt pretty low on that list for being Mr. Special Teams.
I was actually going to bring him up specifically, Tim. Did you see?
Wait 2 seconds and you are bashing down Levitt. What's going on?
See the pathetic tackle attempt on that punt return? He looked like the kicker. I thought he was the specialist.
Yeah, I don't know. But again, this is a one-off. Let's see if we see this become a habit. Then we're going to be concerned. I kind of put that in the same bucket as like we just talked about Quay. Quay might have had a little bit of an off day or a little bit less than stellar than we're used to seeing out of him. That I don't think that means that it'll be a trend we'll see moving forward, but something to keep our eye on, certainly. I never thought I'd see Dallin Levitt grade that low in special teams.
I'll tell you the big thing that sticks out to me, I'm just happy that Josiah DeGuara is contributing. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to give a backhanded compliment or anything here. 20 snaps. I guess he was third in special team snaps, and a 72.1. Hey, whatever you got to do to help the team. You know what I'm saying? And Savage, I actually have it keyed up on Chalk Talk. That kickoff cover, when he came flying down and made that open field tackle, that was a tone setter coming down the stretch there yesterday, for sure. So anything else you guys want to hit on there with the special teams, Grace?
No. I mean, did you – are you going to do any chalk talk as to how that seam opened up and who is maybe to blame for losing contain, or if they just made a good play on it? Or
I was just going to point out the fact that, I'm the one always bashing Darnell Savage, and like, hey, look, this what I love about chalk talk is it's all about game flow, right? It's not just, hey, here was a big play. Oh, look, this guy made a good play. It's when did it happen? And that special teams play, man, it came at a key moment where, hey, look, tone setter, pinned him back inside the 20 right on a kickoff because Savage just came screaming in. I don't have the all 22. There's a trick to get into the all 22 earlier, and I'm in the process of working on that. But I have to wait. Last I checked today, I still didn't have the all 22. I still didn't have access, so I'm having to use TV copy. So it's hard to see that on the kickoff coverage. Exactly how he got through, if it was schemed up or what. But someone was asking about Chalk Talk. Zane said, "When is Chalk Talk?" Zane, the plan was to do it earlier today, and then I get in here and my Google Drive was acting up. Everything was just spinning. I had 20 clips and they were all just spinning. They didn't load. So I couldn't get them into the system quick enough. But I do have it keyed up in the Telestrator now where I'm going to go through and hit on those. And I couldn't get all 20 of them in. But the plan is to do it tomorrow. So you'll probably see that late afternoon tomorrow before we go live for Packers Total Access Live. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Jake just confirmed all 22 is up on NFL Plus. Awesome. What's crazy too is I can access NFL Plus and just share the screen on here as well, which is something we can do in the future. It's just I really like it in the Telestrator because we can control the speed in which it plays. We can draw on the screen, all that good stuff. We can get our John Madden on, if you know what I mean. So, all right, let's do this. Let's go to the injury report. Like I said, we had a mock injury report kind of drop today. They didn't practice, but this, it was just something they were asked to do, I guess. You're going to get a Monday report, a Tuesday report, a Wednesday report, and then obviously we'll get the actives, inactives on game day on Thursday for Thursday Night Football. They're against the Lions at Lambeau Field. Jair Alexander did not participate with the back injury. Zane Anderson did not participate with the hamstring. Bach did not participate. Devondre Campbell with the ankle did not participate. Rashawn Gary, limited participation. Elton Jenkins did not participate. Aaron Jones, limited participation. I think that's a good sign. Zach Tom with the new knee injury did not participate. Carrington Valentine with the bicep injury did not participate. Christian Watson with the hamstring did not participate. It seems like people are leaning towards more than likely Aaron Jones will be available, but maybe not Christian Watson. With that being said, I did want to point this out. Injury news front, Zach Tom, LaFleur hopes he can go. I think that's a good sign, Jacob. LaFleur said that. I hope he can go. I think if it was something significant, he would have never said that, right? Dre Campbell, it's not the same ankle that he hurt earlier this year. Yep. So we learned that through the pressers. Carrington Valentine.
Is that good or bad news?
It's exactly what I thought. Oh, great. It's not that. Well, yeah, crap. So it's a new ankle. This sucks. I didn't know how to take it. Carrington Valentine did not tear his bicep. So that's really, really important.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And Aaron Jones listed as limited. Like I said, some people were pointing out that he's probably got a better shot than Christian Watson. Jacob, what sticks out to you there, man? What are you concerned about? Are you a little more optimistic about some of these that are listed did not participate?
I'm a little bit more intrigued, I guess. Not intrigued, but I guess a little more relieved looking ahead, only because when I look down at the Lions, it looks like they're going to miss like their whole offensive line potentially. So looking as the fact that we have Gary, who's limited, and that we have Jones is limited, to me, yeah, that's a lot more encouraging. And I look at a lot of those other guys. I would have to imagine that Jair, that even any of those guys, I would hope that in a divisional game that they really are going to want to be out there to play. And like I said, if you look down at that Lion team, is that 4 out of their 5 starting offensive linemen that are either
questionable? Yeah.
I think they lost somebody earlier in the year too. Went on IR. I could be wrong, but I was going to say it was one of their best offensive linemen. I'm really excited to dive. As soon as I get Chalk Talk done this week, I'm going to dive into the Lions tape. I want to see what they did this previous game yesterday, and just kind of get an idea of, okay, how are they attacking offenses this year? Because I've heard people say that Jared Goff has played great. I've heard others say he's been up and down. I really want to see. Now, I know this with the Chiefs game. There were so many people just pretending like, oh, Goff's garbage. He didn't do anything special against the Chiefs. What I seen was them showing a too high shell, and he was hammering those deep digs. I mean, he was standing tall in the pocket and hammering those deep digs. Granted, there was no Chris Jones, but I was impressed with Goff in that game, to be honest with you. But I need to go back and, like I said, watch the more previous game. But, Tim, what sticks out to you about the injury report, man? Anything you're overly concerned about or optimistic about?
I guess I'm overly concerned about Dre because that, another ankle injury is not thrilling. hopefully we'll find out more about how serious it is. But my gut reaction looking at this, I think everybody goes except for, Big E and maybe Zane Anderson. I really think Scoot's going to play. I think this is the game. You got if they're as close as he's been these last couple of weeks, I think this is the time to go ahead and do it. Even if we get him for 10 snaps or whatever it is, because one of those plays could be one of those explosive ones we talk about that can tilt a game. I think there is some credence to the thought that maybe the reason that Ja and Bakhtiari and Jones did not play and Watson did not play on Sunday is probably because they're locked and loaded for a divisional game at home this Thursday. And so I'm going to roll with that mindset, kind of looking at this. And, like you said, it's important to reiterate that nobody participated today, technically. So don't let the did not participate fool you too much, because we didn't have practice. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we should have a little bit more insight into this. But my gut is telling me that if these guys are 90% or better, they're going to go, because this year's going to come down to divisional games. And, not to throw my 2 cents in here too much, but, this division's going to come down to the Pack and the Lions this year. And every single division game counts, especially considering the fact that we got a chance to go 2-0 in the division here and put Detroit, our number one opponent for the division this year. We can put them behind the 8 ball 0-1 in the division. So this is a game that has playoff implications already, guys. And I think, banged up, injured, coming back, getting close. I think this is all hands on deck, and I think Detroit's going to give us a run for our money too, guys. This is going to be another close game. There's a lot of similarities between our two teams. So, I hope these guys go on Thursday.
I have a theory too. How about this?
Oh, hold up just a second. You got a theory that All right, Jacob, the floor is yours.
So, no, it just makes a little bit more sense now if we think about what LaFleur was doing going into this week, why he sat so many people on Sunday. Because like you were just talking about, Tim, he looks at this as this is the beginning of the playoff hunt. This is a divisional win, a divisional opponent. So he sits all those guys. And then now I'm looking at the schedule. So we obviously have the Thursday night game. Maybe he tries to get all those guys to go. Then we have a full week and an extended week because our next game's at Las Vegas Monday night. And then after that, we go into our bye week. So the dude's thinking if we can just hop, skip, and jump and do these kind of like strategic sits, that he's going to elongate all of our players to get to the end of that bye week. And then by that time, we've got guys that have been sitting, a good solid week and a half, 2 weeks. And then we go after that. And then we start that back half of the season, which I argue would be more challenging.
I think he's on to something, Tim. What do you think?
Not a conspiracy.
I do.
And then after that, we trade Bakhtiari. Do that. You don't have to go.
Took it down the sideline, turned over with my guys, gave the football to a little kid wearing 20.
I'm with you, Jacob. I think you got something there. I really do. And as far as like Bach is concerned, like I don't care if he just plays divisional games the rest of the year, like, I feel pretty good in the limited scope of things that we got to see out of Rasheed Walker. I think he's a guy that's just going to get better with more reps. Like the more he's out there, the better he's going to get. He's going to have his learning curve and bumps and bruises along the way, but the ceiling is really high with him. But I think, having that veteran presence with Bakhtiari, who is just, I agree with you, Clayton. I think he's Hall of Fame candidate when it's all said and done, when it comes to protecting that blind side of the quarterback the way he does. So
yeah,
we'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah, definitely. Eric Sutherland in the chat says that Bigfoot looked like Jacob sneaking over to splice into his neighbor's Wi-Fi.
Still hardwired.
I love it. All right, let's see here. We had a couple people mentioning Christian Watson up here earlier. I just want to hit on it real quick. right here. The greatest ability is availability, says Garrett. Garrett Stritzel says, I'm sadly beginning to lose faith in Watson if he misses another game. And then Eric Sutherland said, sorry, I'm just about out on Watson, all the potential in the world, but looking like a tub dweller. Eric Sutherland never sugarcoats anything. The tub dweller.
You tub dweller.
Eric, I think it goes without saying, you're not saying that Christian Watson doesn't want to be out there, right? It's like a Ferrari, man. It's like these expensive cars. When something breaks, it's expensive, right? And that dude, he is just a world-class athlete. And the torque, the strain it puts on your muscles, your joints to be that fast, it's tough, And you look at someone like Tyreek Hill, who's a smaller frame. His frame isn't taking, his joints aren't taking as much of a beating as someone who's as tall as Christian Watson. It sucks, man. I want to see him on the field because he's a spark plug, man. Fell in love with that dude last year watching him play football and just his passion. And I want it to work out, but I can't sit here and go, no, you're off base with that take. I mean, it is what it is at this point, right? It sucks. I don't know, Jacob, what do you think, dude? It seemed like when Christian Watson got healthy last year, he was pretty much available the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally still 100% in on him. He's the guy I wanted in the draft. When we got him, I was ecstatic. I was very hard on him for his opening, game against Minnesota where he had that drop, and I don't think anybody was more hard on him than Aaron Rodgers. So we kind of put him in that whole, if he's a Ferrari, he got put in the garage for a good half that season. But the second we took him off and kind of, gave him some confidence, he showed that he's a freak. So I think that LaFleur is maybe being a little overly cautious with our hurt players. But if you think about it, if we have any chance of really actually being a 10-plus win season, if we have any chances of going into the playoffs, maybe making a sneaky run, who knows, then we need those guys at the back end. And if we don't have them, it's smart now to keep those veteran players, the Watsons, the Joneses off, because we have enough guys, these younger dudes like the Wicks, the Reeds, the Musgraves that are actually performing and allowing us to sneak by with these wins. I mean, it makes sense. Like I can't stress enough that how much of a unbelievably key victory this was. One, because I don't think that they expected to get it, and the way that we got it in that fourth quarter with the adversity and the way that Jordan Love showed that honestly, that, like Tim said, that after that one win alone, I say throw him the bag because he's shown the demeanor, the poise. I know he has the physical traits, so I'm not worried about that part of it. And he just seems like an overall good person. So give him the bag.
Mike Sandoval in the chat said, dude, I just said that trade him for Taylor. I'm assuming he was talking about David Bakhtiari. The whole Jonathan – what's that?
I'd do it.
Would you? The problem I have with Jonathan Taylor, of course, and let's play along here for a second, okay? I feel like I always have to do a disclaimer. I'm not saying we should trade Bakhtiari, okay? But if you're presenting to me the idea, okay, trade Bach for Jonathan Taylor, the first thing I would say is you're going to have to pay Jonathan Taylor in order for him to accept the trade or show up to your team the same way he's showing up the Colts. You've got to pay him what he's wanting, which is 17, 18 million per year and probably a 4 or 5 year deal. Are you willing to do that? I'm not. Jonathan Taylor he had one great year, right? And he was in the running for MVP, had an awesome year. Last year, he struggled. He struggled at everything last year. He is not a dynamic running back in a sense of he plays a role in the passing game. Therefore, I'm not paying him. You would be the only team in the league willing to pay a one-trick pony running back, right, the kind of money that you would pay to an Aaron Jones that does everything, right? Now, the other thing is, okay, well, Bach's probably not going to be here next year anyway, so it's kind of a one-for-one, right? If Jonathan Taylor was willing to play for this year and just wipe it clean, right? What happens if Rasheed Walker goes down with an injury and Bach's playing for the Colts? That would suck. Am I the only one that thinks that would suck?
Yeah, that was, I guess, my terms was if it was only at the end of this deal, basically one-for-one player, because I don't want any of that contract stuff. There's no way I want to pay a running back that much money. But yeah, that'd be the issue. I guess it'd be to me, it shows that the Packers are kind of not worried about their depth at tackle. It seems like they're willing to even, I don't know what they're thinking about with Yash going into next year. Maybe that's another reason why I was just surprised so much to see Walker take that step because I did not see that coming and not see him playing like I said again. He was a 24th overall ranked tackle, and that's with a lot of snaps. So.
Yeah. And of course, Mike Wall being the smart guy he is, he's like, I'm not surprised. I watch his feet. You watch his feet, and he's got great footwork. He's like, if you have great footwork, you can play in this league. You can be the strongest guy in the league. If you got horrible footwork, you will not make it in the starting lineup. You can, all those things. You can have all this agility, but if you don't know what you need to do with your footwork to be successful pass blocking, pass setting, and even in the run blocking game, you're not going to make it. Mastermind in the chat said, guys, don't forget that Davante had drop issues his first 2 seasons as a Packer, and look how he turned out. And then I had to follow it up with this one because I thought it was funny. Mike Sandoval said, dude, Davante was eating pizza with Eddie Lacy back then. Which brings me to the
look like it. Davante was built like me back then. Looked like he must have been eating that vegan pizza or something.
Yeah. Hey, let's get right down to the nitty-gritty here. Favorite pizza, Jacob, go. What's your favorite type of pizza? You could say where it's from. You could say a style, whatever.
There was this place called 5 Points Pizza in Nashville, but I think there was a tornado in East Nashville a few years ago.
That turned gloomy quick. Come on, Jacob.
I know. Sorry. If it's still there, that's
all kinds of people lost their lives, and it's like, whoa.
There's blood every now and then.
Favorite pizza is.
Otherwise, I like I'm crazy, dude. Pineapple and breakfast bacon is my favorite.
For real. My man.
Okay.
Tim, let's hear it.
All right, my Milwaukee people might remember this. My absolute favorite of all time was from a place called the Olive Pit, down in Walker's Point area of Milwaukee. They're out of business now. They since I believe they retired, sold. But they had this pizza. Speaking of tornadoes, it was called the Tommy Tornado, and the Tommy Tornado was one of those deals where it wasn't like super thin crust, and it wasn't like deep dish. It was like basically like one of those like cookie sheet baked type pizzas. And yes, bacon, sausage, Canadian bacon. I mean, it was like, I sincerely wish I could find the family and see if I could bribe them to give me the recipe for this pizza, because it was so phenomenal. But yeah, Marchese's Olive Pit in Milwaukee back in the day, man, I still miss that place.
Dang, look at this. Who was it? It was Zane. Zane in the chat said, barbecue pulled pork pizza. Zane over there waking and baking, bro. You ain't fooling nobody. Oh, man. Cheesehead Murph, tomato, banana peppers, chicken pizza. That sounds good, man. I'm a sucker for the banana peppers. All right, let's get back on topic here. People getting mad at me. I apologize, man. I'm a fatty, man. I like eating. All right. I joke about this all the time, but I'm being serious. Food is the only reason I don't do drugs. I'm just telling you right now, man. I love food, bro. I love food. Josh Martin, thank you for the super chat. He said, draft Marvin Harrison Jr. somehow next year. Going to have to get up there real high in the order, man, because I think he's probably going to be the number one wide receiver taken. You're probably going to get 2 to 3 quarterbacks taken, then Marvin Harrison Jr., I would imagine. That dude, he seems like he's the real deal. I don't know, man. I think that would be out of Goody's wheelhouse, don't you, Jacob? Probably not going to take a receiver that high.
I mean, who knows nowadays? But I would guess I would hope that we don't need a receiver that high. I'm looking at maybe, I don't know if Shivink would probably be better to talk to about this, because right now I'm looking at the need for safety, I guess, maybe even corner, maybe to fix our interior offensive line. He's more smart.
Yeah,
I agree with that, but I do think Josh is onto something while we're on the scoop conversation. Let's see how many games, if this does go the wrong way and we see, Christian in the tub more than on the field, maybe we are looking to add depth and looking for another star type receiver. But yeah, I don't see Goody trading up.
You know what we're going to do? We'll wait until the 2nd or 3rd round and grab a guy that people have projected in the 4th or 5th, and then we'll all be shocked and we'll get angry. And then after 2 months, we'll say that he's going to be the best guy and he's Jerry Rice. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, Marvin Harrison Jr. has the potential to be probably better than his pops. And I don't say that lightly, because Marvin Harrison Sr. is a monster. So.
Yeah. Definitely. Kevin R in the chat, bro. Just going to tell you right now, keep it respectful. All right. Everybody gets along in here. You're going to get here and insult people. It ain't going to fly. That's just your warning. I'm trying to be cool about it, but you notice everybody in here gets along, and there's one person that the turd in the punch bowl. Just saying, chill out. Let's see here. What else we got? Draft a wide receiver from South Carolina that looks like Metcalf. If anybody looks like Metcalf, sign me up. No doubt about that. And this, our Showers hit the nail on the head. Always need corners and O-line. That seems to be Goody's preference for sure. No doubt about it. So the draft is very far away. I think you got to look at the elite positions, right? The tier 1 of importance. Left tackle, quarterback, edge, interior defensive line. It's probably, if you start there, if you're going to put a friendly wager out there on what position they might draft, if you pick those 4, you're probably going to hit. I'm just telling you. But with that being said, man, I'm eager to see. I get excited about there being this quarterback heavy draft coming up, simply because if we need a quarterback, great. Right? If for some reason we get to the end of the season and Love doesn't look like the guy, okay, we got some options. We could trade up and try to grab one of these guys. If we don't need a quarterback, then that means there's going to be some great players that are going to fall because those quarterbacks are going to get taken at the top of the draft. So it's just, I don't know. It's always a more exciting draft when it's quarterback heavy. There's no doubt about that. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, Mike, you brung it back right here, dude. Hey, Rudy isn't like Thompson drafting Justin Harrell over Greg Olsen. That didn't hurt us, LOL. I'll never forget. There's a YouTube video out there you can still find if they haven't taken it down, where these Packer fans were doing a live draft party or whatever, watching the draft when they drafted Justin Harrell. You know what I'm talking about, Jacob?
Yeah, bro. That's brutal.
Where he calls Ted Thompson a gray-haired.
Yeah. And they're like, it's Justin Harrell.
I mean, Tim, have you seen this video?
Oh yeah, I've seen it, and as far as the Ted Thompson slander, I will tolerate zero of it. I got 2 words for you, Aaron Rodgers.
Roadhouse.
That's right. That's right. And we know that Ted, his last few years, dealt with some health issues. Yeah. Off the field, and a testament to his character, did everything he could to be a part of this organization. So I'm not gonna tolerate any Ted slander, but I will say this: like every GM, he has missed on his share of picks, of course.
Everybody,
just like they all do, and he's hit on some phenomenal picks as well. So yeah, rest in peace, Ted Thompson, man. I will defend Ted with my dying breath, man, for sure.
Yeah, Eric Sutherland said it. Ted was the GOAT. Ted was awesome, man. The thing that really got me about Ted was, Favre, the whole Favre departure from Green Bay was tough, and it was Favre's fault. That's my opinion. You guys may disagree. That's totally cool, but I feel like they gave him like 3 or 4 opportunities that offseason to come back, and he kept changing his mind. Oh, to find out the phone records showed that he was actually communicating with the Vikings the whole time and wanted to go to Minnesota and all that stuff. But even after he tried to get McCarthy and McCarthy and Ted Thompson fired, right? When he came into Lambeau and beat Green Bay, he said the first person to reach out to him was Ted Thompson. Say, congratulations, man. Great game. Like, it's just a stand-up dude, man. A stand-up dude.
Class all the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Class all the way. And a brilliant football mind. I don't think he ever gets enough credit for that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get ready to wrap this thing up. I'm going to hit this. A Split Screen Gaming said, fun fact, the high limestone content in the water in upstate New York makes our pizza dough superior to almost everywhere.
I actually just read that. That's true. People buy the water and ship in the water so that they could have better dough. I'm not kidding.
Eric Sutherland says, Split Screen, I'm guessing you haven't had Little Caesars. And we'll wrap it up there.
I've had frozen pizza before.
I love it, man. Hey, this was a fun episode. I'm glad we got to hit on everything. We got a kind of a good base foundation for the injury news that we received today. Kind of keep an eye on that. Short week. Got Thursday Night Football coming up. Let's see what these youngins can do out there against this Detroit Lions team. And they got an opportunity to really make a statement this week. It's gonna be a fun one to watch. Jordan Love on the national stage. This will be his first primetime game, right? So yeah.
And I'll be there. I'm so excited.
That's awesome, dude. Absolutely awesome. You better have a daddy soda for me, bro.
I'll have a couple. I'll have one for you and Jacob for sure.
No doubt. So I want to give a special thanks to all the PTA Posse members. AJJ emailed me. We're getting that jersey sent out to him who won the autographed Lucas Van Ness jersey. Up next will be an autographed John Kuhn jersey. We're going to give it a week, okay? Since it's a short week, we're going to give it away next week during the post-game show. So if you're not a member of the PTA Posse, our YouTube group, just click on the homepage. You'll see a join tab. That's how you can join, and that'll get you entered into the drawing for the autographed John Kuhn jersey we're going to be giving away. I know, Jacob, you already sent out the belt there for Aaron Rodgers' belt that one of the listeners won as well. So we're going to do that this year. We're just going to continue to give things away to those who are supporting the stream. We really appreciate everybody doing that. Also want to give a real quick shout out to the Super Chats tonight, Josh Martin, Mace Taggart, and Mike Hebring and Josh Martin. Again, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you supporting the stream. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world and go back.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Tell the tackle, take the defensive end. If he's over him, if he's not, you drive down the first man who is inside. Pull back and tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle. No one goes. Go right by him and field inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play ending